Okay.
And just because we always have a good time. And plus, this is a good time group right here. So if you want to have a good time, you got to have Èzili, Minister Imhotep, Jason Timor, and Sasha Madeline. All right, family, we are back live. Yep, you saw me an hour ago. Took everything I could just to change my shirt. And so we have
wow.
Now I'm not sure about my underarm deodorant if all that's working or not. So I'm just saying, luckily this is a virtual conversation that we have.
Oh my God.
All right.
You had to make it weird.
You know, you share that kind of stuff with family, do you not? Okay. So if you have not seen Black Panther, fall on something sharp. I mean, you really need to go and make a point to see this movie because it is necessary if you are a Black person to see the Black Panther. Now, if you have not seen it, seriously, this is going to be a spoiler alert show because we're going to tell you everything. We're going to go through all of the stuff that so I'm just telling you, but you probably will still want to go see it even after we give you the metaphysical, social aspect of this film. So how did this start? How did this happen tonight? Because I normally pre-promote my shows. Well, minding my own business after I watched the Black Panther, I said, oh my God, I had all these thoughts and all these things and everything. And I'm saying, well, is there anybody on Facebook that sees how I'm seeing this? Because I'm seeing a whole bunch of different stuff in the coming. Luckily, Èzili Dantos, I saw her Facebook post and I said, thank you, God. Somebody has a brain. Somebody's alive and kicking. I said, okay, Èzili, I love you. Let me get on the phone and call you. I called her all weekend long, right? And finally we talked. She called me today and we were on there for an hour like we normally are. And I said, you know what, Èzili, we need to just have a conversation about this to the family. And so she says, hey, whenever you want to do it. She's thinking next week. I'm like, no, let's do it tonight. So here we are. And I said, being the metaphysical Morpheus that I am, I should be able to find some other great minds and adepts to be able to have this co-conversation about the Black Panther. And sure enough, I was able to do so. So without further ado, let me introduce to you our esteemed panel tonight as we talk about and review the Black Panther. Of course, Èzili Dantos is a human rights activist and international law attorney and author. She is the founder and executive director of the Haitian Lawyers Leadership Network. And she's also an adept for the Shock Metaphysics Virtual Comedic Wisdom School. Welcome back, Èzili. That's your cue to say thank you. I'm happy to be here. And her mic is not working. Well, we always have some technical difficulties when these kind of things happen, but you got to get your mic working because we can't hear you. I think you can hear me, but we can't hear you. I told you not to touch nothing. And she's laughing. And one of my good friends who is actually here in Sacramento with me, and I haven't had a chance to talk to him in a while, and I miss him so much. We have such a great time together when we talk. And when he's on the show and when he's off the show, Minister Imhotep Al-Kalaban, he is the minister of Wosei Community Church here in Sacramento. Absolutely, if you want to get the Hotep, if you want to know the Hosea, if you want to really get into your African culture understanding from a spiritual perspective, that is the place to go. Wosei Community Church here in Sacramento, 30-year veteran of the Wosei Church. Welcome back, Minister Imhotep Al-Kalaban.
Glad to be with you, Philippe, and such a distinguished panel of adepts here to talk about the metaphysics and the history of the Panther movie.
Love that. See, that's why he's here. See, I told you these are good people. And I'm gonna save you for last, Jason, just because I got a special introduction for you. And you've seen her beautiful face before on the show. She is an amazing mind, our economic savior, if you will. Sasha Madeline is the author of Cryptocurrency. She is also launching later this month Wealth Melanated, and she is absolutely amazing. We're going to be talking with her about the economics of Wakanda and what that would look like today, as well as some of the social aspects and issues of Black Panther. Welcome back, Sasha Madeline.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited. I really am. I've been excited for the movie forever before it came out, and then when it came out, and then I've been excited to do something like this. So I'm excited. And I'm excited to share with everyone.
Absolutely. And saving the best for last, my son, my guy, my boy, Jason T. Moore, ladies and gentlemen. You saw him with Dr. Joy DeGruy, Dr. Howard Stevenson, Kaba Hiawatha Kamene, and Amuna Yisrael on the show that we did on post-traumatic slave syndrome. He is back with us tonight because he saw Black Panther. He just graduated from Howard. Tell him congratulations!
Yay!
And yay! That was a lot. And then he is going to be going to law school. So because we need lawyers to be able to fight the colonizers. That's what we need to do, and to be able to set up Wakanda. So that's why he is here. Jason T. Moore, welcome.
Thank you. I mean, I'm just, as always, humbled and blessed when you get to be a young melanin man with all of this greatness surrounded by it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like we said, Melanin Avengers Part 2, it's time to get into this thing. Wakanda forever. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Wakanda forever. So, do it. And I have to send a shout out to your mom, Tracy Moore. I know you were watching. And I also have to make a caveat to say he is not my son because he, how does the quote go? I don't call you son because you are mine. I call you son because you're mine. That's what I have to say. Because I don't want Tracy to come and hurt me. Anyway, Tracy to come and hurt me. All right.
We can't have that.
No, we can't have that. I got to do more shows. Èzili, can we hear you now? Did your mic work?
That's what I'm. Can you hear?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yay, she's back. Okay, so I'm going to start. I am going to start with Èzili because when we talk about being a revolutionary, there's nobody that I know that can speak to it from the ground better than Èzili Danto. So let's just basically act as if nobody's watching. And we're just gonna have our phone conversation that we had earlier today about Black Panther. And as I'm sitting there, so I'm sitting there in the theater, and there's a elderly sister to my left, and we start talking about, you know, the coming attractions and the movie, and we start seeing just floods of people, families literally coming in to see this movie. And of course, you know, being who I am and what I do, I started talking about history and what have you. And I said, you know, it really would be nice if we could have seen this turn out for some of the other, you know, films like Selma or Malcolm X and things like that, to see that kind of, you know, fervor over a movie. And here we are sitting watching a fantasy film that you know, okay, you know, it is what it is, and a non-melanated wanted to chime into the conversation, and little unbeknownst to me, what I did was the same thing that happened in the movie. We just went hoof, hoof, and shut down the colonizer. And it's like, well, this is not your conversation, okay? I don't even know why you are here right now, because it's about to go down, and you don't want me to get up from this chair with my popcorn and my soda. So you just need to be observant and not in the conversation. So I come home and I go to Facebook. And I'm reading, Èzili, I'm reading your post on Facebook, and I say, yep, that's how I saw it. Because everybody said different things, and it was great, but we really want to get into what the family really needs to know about the hidden messages, if you will, even hidden agenda of some of the messages in this movie. And I want to start with you, Èzili, in talking about your critique of the Black Panther.
Sure. Well, when I came home from the movie, I went and I said to, I don't understand how they allowed the CIA guy into the hidden country. And I said, you know, someone explained to me why the cousin is the enemy. They saved billions of Black people from the colonizer. And I think I also put in there that his line resonated with me, the last line, I rather death than live as a slave.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So that was what started the thread on my network, because, you know, they just lost me there. But I have to say, so that's what we talked about a little bit that's what I talked to you about.
Mm-hmm.
And we you know, we talked a bit about what my whole network felt, because, you know, we deal with colonialism in Haiti for our whole entire life. And right now I've been dealing with it since the UN became their occupation. So you could understand my my disappointment with Tchalla, the king, the Black Panther King Tchalla, who lives in this fictional Wakanda East African nation that's invisible to everyone, and that's covered by being a third world developing country. That's what their outer looks like. But inside, they have all of this technology. And I just really couldn't relate to that as being African. For me, that is not what Africanism is about. We are a people who share. We are a people who are empathetic. And the very idea of an African invisible nation that has this vibranium, this amazing resource, but they've allowed for millions of years, and let's say they've allowed at least the last 5,000 years, they've allowed for the genocide that happened with the Arab slave trade, the genocide that happened to us with the transatlantic slave trade. And the arc of a story is that they left behind their own child to face in Oakland, California in the 90s. And so for me, the hero was Ndjaka. I think that's his African name. Mm-hmm. They give him the name of being Killmonger because he is a CIA Black Ops person. So I was rooting for him the whole time. Mm-hmm. So I know I'm different.
Not that much.
I was rooting for him the whole time. I was. I was okay. Oh, great. I was Dessalines' child. You know, burned it down. The character that played the Forrest Whitaker character and the Angela Bassett character, and when he burnt down access to that realm that's supposed to be where the ancestors was, I was like, listen, if those are my ancestors, when I'm gone, I'm coming with my sword.
And, you know, I agree with you. And I know this is hard for some of the family. I know Èzili is like, well, Philippe, you know, I'm not going to hold back, damn it, on the show. I'm like, I know. Because here was my problem. And this is why I have an age range on the show today, ladies and gentlemen, because everybody's coming from different perspectives. And so I've got my elders, I've got, as they say, my youngins, and I want all of the perspectives. But what I got and what I saw was history repeating itself and making the same mistake again and again. And that was, how could you be a country that turns your back on your people for tens of thousands, however many years that it's been there? And when we look at those ancestors that were depicted in the film from symbolism, those are not the ancestors that I would necessarily want to be reaching back for. And two, because I'm like, well, where were you? And is this your decision? Because I am hurting in ways that you cannot even imagine. My family is hurting in ways that you can't even imagine. And so why would I pray to you? Why would I call unto you as a result of you making the decision to leave me behind? And so Èzili and I had the conversation that in a very real sense, I think the character was Eric Killmonger, and played by Michael B. Jordan.
Correct.
That's the hero to me. of the film in terms of his ideology, how he went about it or whatever. We can talk about that. But, dude, you guys left us behind to die. I mean, even in the European military, the Eurasians, you don't leave anybody behind. You're right. You know, so that was problematic for me. Minister Imhotep El-Kaliban, if you could come on and give us your perspective on this.
Wow, you know, I agree with my sister Èzili. Èzili. I'm sorry, Èzili. To a point. For me, I used to read Marvel comic books. I grew up reading Marvel comic books, and it actually gave me an appreciation for reading. So Thor, Fantastic Four, Captain America, Spider-Man, I used to read all of those. And then in, I believe, 1967, 68, I opened up a Fantastic Four, and here's this mention of a black superhero, Tchalla. And he was actually teaching a Black history course. And he was telling about the great different periods in Africa, and there was a Black student in that class who was kind of clowning him. And then, you know, then they change scenes, and then they show this technologically advanced African civilization. So I immediately got into it. Now, I forwarded a picture that Philippe is going to post at some point, I'm sure. And the picture actually came from, I think it was in the Black Scholar magazine. And then Anthony Browder in his book, Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization, has the picture. And it has a young Black boy. He's maybe about 10 or 12 years old. He has a blanket. Yeah. He has a blanket around him, and when he looks in the mirror, he doesn't see himself. He sees Christopher Reeves or some white man that represents I almost say Santa Claus, Superman. And for me, every time I watch something, I have to superimpose myself. You know, just about if you're going to watch TV, if you're a conscious African man, you know, and okay, they just came out with a Samson movie, you know, not an African. You know, they're coming out with Egyptian movies all the time. They just came out with a thing where Nefertiti was a white woman,
right?
You know, and there's a lot of documentation on that. I love the movie. It reminded me of something that Dr. Ivan Van Sertima said in one of his lectures, which was, he said, the Black man can never be shown in his glory. And what he was referring to when Jomo Kenyatta became president of Kenya. At some point in his inaugural address, he says, I'm not going to continue this speech, I'm paraphrasing, and speaking to you in a colonizer's language. I'm going to speak to you in our, and he switched over to Kiswahili.
Wow.
And Van Sertima was saying, you know, you never see these clips of, you know, like that was a great day for Black people. You know, same thing with Kwame Nkrumah, etc. So to see a Black hero, to know the history of Black people, I don't know if you are aware there, and I was talking to a brother earlier, and he's supposed to send me the number of this professor, but there's a professor at San Francisco State by the name of Dr. Wade Nobles, and I was talking to him one day, and I was referring to a Sangoma who was in South Africa. Sangoma is a priest among the South African the Xhosa people. And his name is Credo Mutwa. And Credo Mutwa talks about the time before things got bad. When there was a time when Black people used to speak to each other by thinking of them, you know, and okay, it sounds fantastic, but he also, in relating all of this history, he talks about there's some place in Africa that their mineral is copper and quartz, and it's someplace in the Congo, and you know, and he referred to it as a place like Wakanda. Okay, and I know that sounds fantastic, but anything is possible with Africa.
Absolutely, everything actually is possible because of Africa.
So if you look at the South African, you know, the ancient civilizations in South Africa go back 200,000 years. There are gold mines that are 10,000 years old there. You know, so you know, the movie is based upon fantasy, but you know, there's also some truths in there, because Africa is a place where unobtainium, you know, that was in Avatar. That was the mineral, unobtainium. And you know, when Wolverine, I'm going Marvel on this. When Wolverine, when they did Wolverine's story, where they got his adamantium was in Africa. And now vibranium, you know, they're just talking about all the minerals that we're using right now. Coltan, you know, which you cannot have a phone, a computer, or anything without, and 80% of the world's coltan comes out of Africa.
Out of Congo, absolutely. And they're killing the kids and killing the people as a result of trying to obtain it. Exactly.
So I like the story. It's a general story. It's a typical story of brother fighting against brother. It's they showed the Dahomey women warriors. You know, that comes from Dahomey. There's warriors there. When Mansa Musa went across the Sahara, he brought all these African women with him, and they were holding gold goblets. I mean, gold balls. So I mean, I could go on and on. I really like the movie, and I understand the dichotomy. I'm glad they put that in, those two brothers, you know. But there's one more thing I'd like to say about it, and this is coming from Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. In that book, he mentions a people called the Remarkable Mosi, and they had a rule because they could see what was happening around them, and they had a rule. It was like a prophecy, like when the first white man enters the nation will die. So they had rules for letting in Arabs, and they would never allow Europeans to come in based upon what was happening at the time. So when I saw the movie, I said, "No, don't let the Europeans." But, okay.
You know, one of the things that, one of the parts in the movie is that when I saw it, I said, here we go again. We always have to save a white guy in a damn movie. Every damn freaking damn movie, we have to save somebody, a white person. And why do we have to do that? Just, you know, he's CIA. Out of all of the white people you save CIA. That was one of the conversations Èzili and I had. And I want to come back to you, Èzili, but I want to get to the other adepts that are with us tonight, because I want to come back to you and talk about that mountain in Haiti, and we're talking about the mineral. We're talking about, you know, these minerals and what have you in Wakanda that actually really exists, but it's in Haiti, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Sasha,
yes,
you got a chance to do something very rare that I think perhaps only one person in the world could ever do, and that is you got a chance to watch Black Panther with a Black Panther.
Wow.
Right?
And I have the evidence on my Instagram.
You have the evidence on your Instagram. Probably, I don't know. I'm assuming the family knows, but your father, Kabahia Wathakamene, was an original Black Panther. And so I am so jealous right now. You have no idea how jealous I am that you got to watch the Black Panther with an original Black Panther.
Oh, you don't need to be. You talk to him so much, so you.
I know, right? But I wanted, I wanted to be there. I'm still working on the adoption papers so I can get into the family.
And there's always a plane. You could have came with us.
What was that as a millennial for you, and a female millennial, and a conscious, woke and wealthy female millennial? What did Black Panther? What was the messages that you saw in this movie?
So a lot of the times, I know that. I always say that I think my parents lied to me, and I actually was not born in the year I was born in, because I really don't feel like a millennial ever. Except when it comes to technology, because you just almost made me, stop breathing, make me laugh, because I can't help if I have it in my head to do something, I'm gonna do it right away. I don't get if I say it, 5 minutes later, it's probably done already. So for me, it kind of was like I was watching it as a millennial, and also somebody that has been learning about a lot of these things my whole life. Like for my entire life, from the time I was born, the camps that I went to were, it was owned by a Black couple, and they owned land in the Catskill Mountains, and we learned about inventors. And so that was things that I was doing for a very, very long time. So watching the movie, it seemed normal to me, and it didn't seem like something that was far-fetched, because I know that with the pyramids in Egypt and all these or Kemet and all of these places, the idea of being more technologically advanced than the rest of the world is very possible, even though they try to blame it on aliens and everything else. Like they try to make it seem like it's not something that we could possibly be capable of doing. And it brought back, it brought those things into my mind, because we know, as the educated, conscious, however you want to say, we know what certain places of the world, in Africa really, what we're capable of doing. But watching the movie was fantastic, and I'm gonna have to watch it again just to recalibrate my brain to really understand what I was watching. But I realized and I do agree that Killmonger was kind of the real hero in the movie. And I think that one of the reasons why Killmonger was the hero for many of us is because I believe Killmonger is the pain and anger of the Black community. I believe that Killmonger is the feelings that we have about colonization. And, I've heard people compare Killmonger and T'Challa to Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and I didn't necessarily agree with stuff like that, because I do realize that both Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King were both victims of colonization and victims of slavery and victims of oppression. So for me, when I compared the two, Killmonger was the pain and anger of the Black community, and symbolically, T'Challa and the people of Wakanda were what we would have looked like if we wouldn't have given away all of our greatness. T'Challa wasn't a person, and Killmonger wasn't a person. Personally, watching it, when I watched it for the imagery and the symbolicness. For me, vibranium was similar to Black people themselves. Vibranium was similar to melanin, because even with one of the characters in Black Panther was also in Get Out. And for me, Get Out was very, very much about white people and people that are considered colonizers and oppressors want the melanin. So, even in the other movie, they wanted the eyes of certain people and the fastness of other people. And, they wanted to take that. So for this movie, for me, T'Challa and the people of Wakanda were, if we stop giving away, because we're very good at giving away our greatness. And we believe that we are showing people how great we are by giving it away. So when we give it away, they don't care about our culture. They don't care about how great we are. They don't care about how culturally aware we care about it, and we're good at it. But that's not what they care about. All they care about is taking things and making a profit. As we saw in the movie as well, all they care about is taking it and making a, when he wanted to get the weapon from the museum, he was trying to get the weapon and sell it. He wasn't trying to get it for the things that that the people of Wakanda wanted it for their own enrichment. He wanted to sell it and make money in the United States for it. He wasn't trying to do anything beneficial. And that's one of the things that I noticed, that a lot of times we give too much of our greatness away. And I think that if we had taken, if we have the ability to not give our resources, because the resources that make the world function come from Africa. The people that make the world function came originally from Africa, whether you're an African American, wherever you're from, whether you're here or from someplace else, the way that this country functions, the way that the world functions is through people of color. So for me, we were giving too many things away. And I think that that's why I do agree with a lot of what the other people on the, a lot of the other things that are being said. But it was symbolism for me. It was not the actual person. For me, it was, they did not want to give away the things that made them great. And we are very good at giving away the things that make us great. And then once we give it away, even though we still have it, other people make us think that we don't have it anymore. And the moment that you allow another person to understand what your greatness is, they have the ability to manipulate you into thinking that you don't have it anymore. That's why even at the end of the movie, when I was so disturbed by the fact that he went to the UN, Killmonger was trying to put soldiers in different Black communities. And that's why they said Killmonger was similar to the Black Panther Party, because they were trying to take people and put them in Black communities and make those communities better with the vibranium. T'Challa decided, because he did not understand how it feels to be oppressed and colonized, he was willing to go to the UN and discuss it, where Killmonger wanted to put people in the communities, in the Black communities, and make those communities better. But his anger was blinding him from doing it the right way. And that's what a lot of us that have the best of intentions, but we're angry, rightfully so. We have the right to be angry, but our anger is blinding us from doing it the right way. Killmonger was so angry and he was so emotional. And we could see that through many scenes. And it wasn't allowing him, especially the scene when he went back and he was talking to his dad, and his dad was, you realized that he was hurt, and he went back to being a little kid and being hurt. And if we can't get past the hurt that we feel, we're going to have the same fate that Killmonger had. We're not going to be able to progress properly because the anger is blocking us from being successful. I don't agree with the way T'Challa did it at the end, because I do not think that I think we need to stop sharing the things that we're good at. That's why in the trailer, the song, if anybody caught it, like they were saying words like the revolution will not be televised, and then they said the revolution will be live, because we need to stop giving our plans to other people because they don't care the way that we do. They're going to take those plans and they're going to profit from it. We can't give them the, like how you do the live is going to start in 4 days. We do that in the Black, I'm not using you seriously, but I'm saying just our mission in the Black community. We give people the opportunity, like this, the revolution is going to start in 4 days. We're going to tell you everything that we're going to do to make the Black community better so they can shut it down before it even happens, because they already know what the plan is. The revolution needs to be live. We need to either do it or not talk about it at all. So for me, Killmonger is the way that we're supposed to be. Like, we are Killmongers, but we need to take the anger and turn it into passion. We can't make the anger blind. It blinds us from being successful, and we're not able to work together because of all the different ways that we all think, and the anger is blinding us from being successful. And we end up doing what T'Challa did, and just and thinking that our progress is based on the opinions of other people, because we want to impress them, because we want to show them. At the end, when he said, what do people that work in the farm, whatever he said, what could you possibly do for the world, and all you do is work on a farm? Instead of explaining it to them, instead of going to the UN and explaining it to them, he should have just done it. He should have done what Killmonger wanted to do, go into the Black community and fix it, and let them know that we don't need you for anything. They need us way more than we need them. So what we need to be is a mixture of T'Challa and Killmonger, and find a way to work together. And that's what I got.
Excellent. Wow.
From the movie.
Wow. So you really not opinionated on it either way, or any way or the other, really. You just don't really have much to say about it at all, do you?
I don't really, I didn't really have that much of an opinion on it. I could have just not said anything.
Yeah, that was brilliant, boy. That's why I have you guys here, because I just learned some stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that does make sense. All right. All right. Okay. All right. Now, Jason T. Moore, representing the young Black male melanated Avengers around the world. You don't have your cape on tonight. I don't know why. This is the time to wear it.
I mean, again,
as your father, I got to tell you to tuck your cape in and look, presentable to the family.
Okay. All right.
So the next time, go get your cape. Okay, just next time, go get your cape. What did you think about the movie, son? When did you see it?
Well, my baba. I saw the movie twice. I've seen the movie twice, and the dust hasn't even settled from opening weekend yet. And I'll tell you a little story before I go into my thoughts and opinions about the movie. So I was recently having a conversation with my grandfather a couple of days ago, and he was born, before, but he was, he lived through the civil rights and everything like that, so on and so on. And he, unfortunately, is not as woke and conscious as me. It's okay. That's all right. However, what he did do, and exactly what my sister Sasha was hitting on and everything like that, he touched a button and he hit a trigger word when he said, and I don't even know how we got on the subject, but he was talking about police brutality. And he said that the age-old line, that some of our people still fall into of, hey, if they hadn't been doing this X, Y, and Z, then this wouldn't happen. And when I tell you my inner Killmonger came out, I was like, oh, you done lost your mind. And the thing was, my grandfather had never seen me in that way. And the reason I bring it up is exactly because of what my sister Sasha said. I finally learned how to control that anger and turn it into passion. Because again, at the end of the conversation, we ended up laughing and talking, but he understood where I was coming from growing up in this America. You know what I'm saying? I call our tribe the United States of Melanin, or I call us American Africans because of our culture and what we've been through and the things like that. And I told people when I first saw the movie, and I'll tell them even more now from a young male perspective, and just from a young person growing up in the 90s to now or whatever, it'll be extremely hard not to root for Killmonger. It'll be extremely hard not to root for Michael B. Jordan, because if you've ever been racially profiled, if you've ever been pulled over wrongly, if you've ever seen the videos of Oscar Grant, Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland, if you know what it's like to have to worry about if your mother might not make it home at night, if your cousins might not make it home at night, if your melanin is too black, you know what I'm saying, or your melanin isn't black enough. If you've ever had to say, well, nah, I'm not going to eat this right here in front of these people, or no, I'm not going to see myself doing this or rocking my traditional cloth because I don't have a connection or an identity back to the motherland, back to Kemet, you know what I'm saying, this and that, so on and so on. You felt it. And you and like everyone has said, and I have to agree wholeheartedly, he was the true hero because he understood, as I said, growing up, because I'm from Detroit, you know what I mean, all day, every day, and being from Detroit, you understand that you live in a bubble, and you live in a bubble because we're a very high melanated city. You know what I'm saying? And so in a very high melanated city, you don't necessarily have to interact with people who aren't yours. You know what I'm saying? I mean, again, I didn't really, know non-melanins existed. I mean, again,
that's very true. Same with me in Chicago. That's true.
Yeah, I didn't know they existed because, being from Detroit and from the Midwest and Chicago out here, you know what I'm saying? You'll know that we're very close knit. We're very, family people in those parts, as we are across the world. But I think when you are a young man like myself and you start to study the history of our oppression in this country, and I love what we talked about Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, and you understand that we were here before colonizers came. And I love the line that Shuri says about, don't scare me, colonizer. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my line for forever and 3 days. You know what I'm saying? This and that, so on and so on. But because it was so true. And I think this movie, as I was talking to my Baba earlier, about, I wanted, because some people know about it, and if you don't know, you'll know now. They have a 4-hour version, a 4-hour original cut of what the movie was supposed to be. And I would love to see that 4-hour cut, because this movie, as I was telling Dad, it does something that movies rarely do, and it's become an idea. It's become something so powerful that it jumps off the screen. As we stated, we already know that Wakanda essentially is a fictional reality, a fictional world that does not exist. But I tell people, I'm like, I don't believe that, because again, as we just said, I know that the African blood in me, the DNA that runs through my skins, allows me to do just about anything in the world that I put my mind to. And I believe that this movie showed that. It showed the possibilities of what could happen if we had never been colonized, what could happen if we never had to deal with European influence. It showed the idea again of the struggle, because of, again, Wakanda shutting itself out to the world. And I think it brought into a dynamic, that conversation that I've had at Howard with some people and some people outside of Howard, but especially those I consider African Americans being those who come from the continent, about, look, you generalize, as they call us, Black Americans, but I call us American Africans, you know what I'm saying, or the United States of melanin. You generalize us because you've never gotten to know us, because you say that we don't have our identity because we don't know our roots like you, because we can't go back and trace our ancestors like you, because you say, well, you don't come from any country like you. But I say again, as everyone has said, where would the world be without us? What could you do with if the Black Americans, if melanin Americans hadn't existed, where would the world be? There would be no gas masks. There would be no traffic lights. There would be no light bulbs. You know what I'm saying? Just to name a few things. And again, I think, like I said, when you really break down the character of Eric Killmonger, and as I told people, I'm like, you can't fault him, especially if you claim to be a non-melanin liberal, if you claim to be a person who's really, we're for all Black Lives Matter and this and that, so on and so on. Yes, you can say, you know what I'm saying, that his anger and to quote another movie that I love so much, another famous franchise, his fear lays to hate, and his hate led to anger, and his anger led to the dark side. You know what I'm saying? In Star Wars. Yeah, y'all got it. There you go. Hey, the force is always strong. The force is always strong with us. Okay, all right, the force is always strong. But again, you understood that frustration, especially as a young African American male. You understood it, because it was like, no, are you serious right now? Like no, everybody need to get got. Everybody need to get got. Right. No matter who it is, everybody need to get got. If you against Killmonger, you about to get got. I'm about to come on this movie and get got. Everybody about to get got. And I loved, like I said, and I was talking to Dad earlier, I think this movie, the biggest fear, that the two biggest fears that the creators had, who weren't melanated like ourselves.
Let me give the quote because I had to write it down. I said,
go ahead.
The biggest fear of the European is positive Black propaganda.
Can't
the biggest fear of the European is positive Black propaganda. This movie, in many ways, tapped into white fragility that we have yet actually to see, other than perhaps some of the protests that's occurring right now in Mississippi, where there are white protesters blocking black people from watching or entering into the theater to see Black Panther. Now, when you hear that, you recognize that, you know, there's just a reason why we don't like y'all. You are just so damn dumb. I mean, how fragile and stupid can you be, that and insecure and inept and have unequivocal no value, that you would block someone from watching a movie because you are afraid of the idea of what will happen to this next generation, or just the installation of feeling not superior, but feeling who we are and have always been, which is superior. And that's the real truth of the matter. But I didn't want to interrupt you, son, because you were doing so well.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, I always
get out.
No, I mean, I always respect the insight and the mantle of my elders. I know that I'm one of the younger people on this side of the panel, but again, I believe, like everyone said, I didn't like the scene where he went to the UN, because again, I felt, in my opinion, after seeing it for a second time, that, you know, we as Sasha said, you know what I'm saying, in a sense, we always feel, and I would say more as at least for our tribe, United States of Melanin, that we need to prove something to non-melanins. We need to prove that we're just as good, or that, you know, we're just as great, when in out of fact, and as we've known, and as he said in the movie, and I loved it, he was like, look, well, didn't civilization start here? You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm like wasn't this the birthplace of everything? You know what I'm saying? This and that, so on and so on. And he's like, you got 2 billion of us out there suffering. 2 billion of us that never got to see a Wakanda because you didn't. And the thing that I realized just recently, after, you know, listening to everybody's thing, was Wakanda symbolized, in a sense, that fear, that initial fear that a lot of our people have, that have the ability to stand up, that have the ability to change things in predicaments, because it's like, well, if this is just my space and my place, nobody will mess with me. You know what I'm saying? What happens is, when I decide to become a Malcolm, and I decide to become a Fred Hampton, and I decide to become a Huey P. Newton, you know what I'm saying? That's those things. That's when things start to change for me, and that's when this American dream doesn't work for me, and that's when I become, you know, labeled as a radical, and that's when I become labeled as a criminal, and that's when I become labeled as someone who, you know, needs to be kept an eye on, you know what I mean? Things like that, so on and so on. And that was the one thing I was like, but again, as he said, we have people in every part of the world that are ready, that are ready to react. And I think, and I believe the last time I was on the show with Dr. Joy DeGruy, she said something, and it was so profound, and maybe it might have been something I was watching of her or whatever, but she said, look, she's like, the situation for the diaspora as a whole, as a global people, is that you put a frog essentially in hot boiling water, and you're trying to see how long that frog can stay in that water before they jump. And once that thing jumps, there'll be nothing you can do about it. And that's essentially what's happening with this movie. You know what I'm saying? This and that, so on and so on. People are again, my age and younger, or in that age bracket, especially if you're a male, you're tired. You're tired of the narrative of being seen as a criminal. You're tired of the narrative as being seen as a drug dealer. You're tired of it, and I'm gonna just say it, and I may get some flack for it or whatever, but you're tired of being represented in movies as a homosexual. No disrespect to our homosexual brothers and sisters, this and that, so on and so on. But you're tired of being seen as a brother who's strictly there for the comedy. You know what I'm saying? This and that, so on and so on. And this movie allowed not only again, I believe it served a good balance of, no, not only am I royalty, but in that royalty, you have no place here. You know what I'm saying? So when I don't say nothing. Don't ever say nothing.
Come on with it, baby. Come on with it.
Don't say nothing. Please don't.
Shut your mouth when young folks is talking. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I think
Yes.
one of the last things that I'll say about it that just warmed my soul, two points, was the first, seeing the embrace of our traditional culture, our colors, our hairstyles, our natural just beauty. Whether again, I love the ladies, females, this and that, so on and so on. But even the brothers, coming out in their dashikis or their traditional attire or scarves or whatever, you know what I'm saying, and rocking it with pride, not caring what people said, you know what I'm saying, being able, like, yes, we're all going to see Black Panther, you know what I'm saying, seeing it as a family, being able to see this movie together, have people say, no, I've gone with my mom, I've gone with my dad, I've gone with my cousins, I've gone with my friends. Like, again, like this, as I've said, this movie is becoming a movement. And I love what Sasha said about, the revolution won't be televised. It's going to be live. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be live. And I'll end with this. The beautiful thing that I seen the first time I came out and saw it was I saw this little man, you know what I'm saying? He reminded me a lot of myself. And I was gonna make this joke a little bit earlier that I'm getting my Black Panther suit ready. You know what I'm saying? No capes. We don't do capes around here no more. We don't do capes. No. Capes aren't good enough. If it's not vibranium weave, then I can't do anything with it.
Gotcha. I love it. Love it.
It's such a millennial thing, because that's the same thing I was thinking about, that heart-shaped herb.
Yeah. If I can't have the heart-shaped herb, then I just don't deserve to be a superhero. But but the last thing I saw was I saw, like I said, I saw a little homie who reminded me a lot of myself, and I was so thankful, and it brought me to tears, because he gets to grow up in a world with superheroes who look just like him. You know what I'm saying? Who are celebrated, who are embraced, whether he understands the significance of Killmonger or not, whether he understands the significance of T'Challa or not, he understands that there's somebody who represents a superhero. And the whole reason superheroes were created, because they could do superhuman things that were beyond our natural ability. And this person can do things like, he has a whole country, he has a whole tribe, he has warriors, he has money, he has everything in the world. And like I said, that brought me to tears. That made me so happy to see that, when he becomes my age, he'll just be like, I went and saw Black Panther, and I remember it as one of the greatest things that ever happened in my life.
Wakanda forever. Oh, that was
Wakanda forever.
Okay. All right. That's why we have. All right. Now I was bawling and crying on the last show, family. Don't have me break down on this one. I need y'all strength. I need strength with an F, not strength.
Okay.
Èzili Danto.
Yes, ma'am.
There were so many hidden agendas and messages in this movie, particularly the one about the mineral that made the Black Panther who he was, and his superpowers, and his suit and everything, and the weapons and what have you. In a conversation I had with you when we first talked, you gave me not only information on this particular metal or mineral, you gave me the geographical location of the mountain in which it is being mined currently, how and why it is being mined, and what it is being used for. And the moment I saw that on the screen, I thought of you, and I said, oh, I gotta call Èzili on this one if she hasn't seen it yet. Talk to us about this mineral that is in Haiti, and kind of connect the dots for the family on why, again, it wasn't a good idea for Tchalla to go to the UN.
Oh, exactly. And I will. But before I go on, Philip, I also want to say a couple of things about the director I absolutely must say his name, Ryan Coogler. And the screenwriter, he's Brian Coogler and Joe Robert Cole. I think what we must understand, in addition to what I have just said about letting in a known enemy of Black people, and if we're talking about the Black Panthers in Oakland, what COINTELPRO did to us, and the Black Panthers, and the fact that as a human rights lawyer, I deal every day with young Black males that look to me like Jadakada, or Eric Stevens, which is his name. And so I call him my cousin from Oakland, and I don't say Killmonger because we do the non-colonial narrative. And in that non-colonial narrative, we don't repeat some colonial narratives about who my children are. So I want to say that Ryan Coogler did an amazing job fitting in an African unprecedented vision of what it would look like. I think that if they did not write that story, we would have had Ape Man, and he wouldn't have looked like Nabucco. Okay, he because when Nabucco and his people were going, hoo, 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 I thought of the cues, right?
I did. Yep, I did.
I was like, go Cues, right? Because I only knew the four corners of that movie. I don't know the larger Marvel world, but I think that he was given a job to fit in an authentic African space, culture within white supremacy. And that, as long as people can understand it's within white supremacy, then that's fine. But do not mistake this to be Africa. And do not mistake this to be what Africans are about, because we are the people who share. And it was because we shared when the European came into our countries, whether it was in America or in Africa, that we are in the position we are now. And so I think that Michael B. Jordan did an amazing job with representing not only just the anger, but the backstory. And I think that he was a great actor. I think actually all the actors did a fantastic job. It was great acting, great scenery, great set design. I think Ruth Carter will probably win an Oscar. So I wanted to mention their names. I think, of course, all of us know that Forrest Whitaker and Angela Bassett have made some wonderful choices in their life as actors. So they come with an association for us as Black people. So of course we don't want to see them put in danger, like Killmonger. I don't want to say that name. My cousin from Oakland seemed to have put them in danger. So of course folks were rooting for him not to exist. But this is my point with regards to that. As I said, is that those elders remind me of the bourgeois I'm fighting right now. The bourgeois Black groups of folks who rather integrate and stay within their own little enclave and leave the others to pull themselves by their bootstraps. So in the work that I do, we have something in Haiti that we call bourgeois democracy. And in bourgeois democracy, it's where ultimate wealth, technology, beauty, and richness lives in the same space as torture, rape, and that is the European and Eurasian way of life. And to me, Wakanda was that space where ultimate wealth lived in the same space in Eastern Africa, so supposedly in this and they covered themselves up by being a third world country. So they lived in the same space as slavery and the Mahafa. And I cannot ever say those are people that I would, I would lift up,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I am not in the Marvel storyline. So I know that they had to deal with a Marvel storyline. So, but the brother who talked after me talked about Creator Mutwar, and he mentioned about who and what we are. Creator Mutwar is from South Africa. He's a shaman. And he talks about secret African societies as existed during the time of colonialism. And he talks about the mountain of the moon. And there are places in Africa where there are tribes who have not been exposed to, or not tribes, but different sections of people have not been exposed to the colonizers. So those things exist. I want to say that it is our own lack of knowledge that in our people, and you know, maybe we haven't done our job as folks who've been out here for a long time to, because our work is always marginalized. But let me say this, that obviously everyone knows that Black folks are original to the planet, including the Americas. Obviously, we know, for instance, so I'm going to tell you the story of Haiti, obviously, right? So Haiti is the space that beat 3 European powers. So if the young folks who are watching this superhero fictional place didn't know that that already existed, we've already been in a place where we have beaten those powers, not like the Black Panther, but like Killmonger. And I say that because of this. I see myself as we are at war, because I spend every day struggling to keep our children to have a different future, and to keep, for instance, Haiti, which is the country that I'm always defending, to keep our resources for ourselves. Our resources are being taken. And this is in the Congo. This is in Sub-Saharan Africa. This is everywhere, right? Our resources. So in Africa right now, we have something called AFRICOM. So when I'm watching this movie about this fictional African, and then they're talking about Oakland. So they're obviously talking about on this planet, right? So like it's on this planet. So on this planet right now, AFRICOM there's 54 nations in the Africa. There's 53 out of the 54 has a United States military base. There is over 1,000 US military base all over the country. And Haiti right now, they have a military base. They call it the US Embassy. It goes down really into the Haitian underground, like many, many floors underground. And it could have been one of the reasons for the Haitian earthquake. But when I saw this movie, there were a lot of things there was a lot of beats that resonated with me. So the very first beat is what you're talking about. When the movie starts, there is Najobu, who's the father, the one who's going to be killed by T'Challa's father. And he's telling his son, who becomes Killmonger, about Wakanda. And basically he says that millions of years ago, an asteroid hit the Earth. He says millions of years ago, an asteroid hit the Earth. All right.
Come on with it, Ashley.
Exactly. So that the Africans took that particular vibranium and made and created this invisible, technologically superior space. In Haiti, this is true facts. A asteroid hit Haiti some 66 million years ago. And when it hit that space, that's when it broke up the continents. So there was one landmass on Earth, and it broke. Crater Mutwar stud, that same asteroid also hit South Africa, because Crater Mutwar is from South Africa. The remains of that asteroid is called iridium. Put a V in it, and what do you have? vibranium.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So for me, I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if that's what they were thinking about, but that was what I was thinking about when the movie started. So we all associate with what we know, right? So when they talked about asteroid, I thought about the iridium that's in Haiti right now that the United States has come to take. And guess who they use as cover to take that iridium? The United Nations.
Mm-hmm.
So the United Nations, there's 153 countries in the United Nations. The Eurasian nations, the World War II powers, buy their votes, blackmail their votes. So essentially you have all of these Black and Asian countries, but those countries' votes are bought by the 5 powerful World War II powers. And those are Russia, China, England, France, and the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a Ponzi scheme. So imagine my horror when I saw Tchalla talking about the United Nations as if they were going to, he was going to give them his resources. He was going to give his resources to the West. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I know that the politics of the world, you know, the Eurasians sell the United Nations as a world peace organization. But I can tell you right now, and I need people to understand this, that we have a Haiti petition right now against the United Nations for raping 6-year-old Haitian children. The United Nations. Okay, so I'm sorry that I have to bring this up, but this is the reality.
No, that's why we're having. That's why I wanted you on to talk about this. The family needs to
just
know.
Google it right now. The aid agencies. That's what they do. They're like the old missionaries of old that goes into Africa.
Mm-hmm.
They're like the old priests. You know, they'll give you a Bible and take your land.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what the charitable industrial complex is about. So I know that my brothers, Ryan Coogler and Robert Cole, probably may not have known about the United Nations because they are built in their propaganda as a world peace organization. But in our experience in Haiti, in our experience in the Congo, in our experience in Liberia, Chad, if everybody wants to know about this, just Google Oxfam right this moment. Oxfam and the aid agencies in Haiti. They were supposed to be giving aid to Haitians, and they took 16-year-old girls and made them do what they call Caligula sex. Those are aid agencies. So imagine my horror, because this is what I say. When I looked at that movie, I was really, really happy for my little niece to see strong warrior women.
Mm-hmm.
That was an absolute positive. And that is based in history because you know the Dahomey warriors, a lot of the West African from Congo from Angola, they came and took part in the Haitian Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Queen Nzenga of Angola spent a lot of time beating the Portuguese. So if you know those stories, you know those women are based on African facts. The Amazon in the Fon African language, they're called mother, and they're the ones that always protect the king, and they even choose the king. In Haitian history, our greatest hero, his name is Jean-Jacques Dessalines. When the Haitian Revolution started in 1791, it was those women who taught Jean-Jacques Dessalines. The Amazon women you sort of saw fictionalized in Wakanda. They taught the greatest hero who beat 3 European powers. He beat the French, the British, the Spanish in combat, how to fight. Those were Amazons. And we all, I mean, I'm using the word Amazon. That's not the word the Dahomeans use, just because people will understand what they are. But think of the guards of King Tchalla, and Google Dahomean Amazons. They were guarding the nobility of Dahomey, which is today Benin, right? Another thing to understand that I related to when I saw this movie was in Haitian Vodun, we call agasu. Agasu is not a jaguar. It's a Black Panther. And agasu is a Black Panther. So those two Jewish guys that started the Black Panther back in the 50s or 60s, perhaps they were inspired by the real life history of Dahomey in West Africa, because the real life history is, because cosmologically is that a leopard, spirit of a Black Panther, had relations with an African woman, and the king of Dahomey, the nobility, came from that union. But I also want to say to you that Killmonger, who is African, who is, let's say, Black American, right? He is, his character is from Oakland, right? His other name is the Golden Jaguar. In the Americas, a melanated cat is called a jaguar, a melanated leopard. So you see again this theme of African versus American, but they're the same. They're a leopard. Wow. But one is called a jaguar, one is called a Black Panther. The Asian leopard that has black skin is called a Black Panther. The American leopard is called a jaguar. And anyone who knows anything about American indigenous people who were Black originally, we know one of their gods was the jaguars. So you could see how that's what I saw when I first came, and I saw the names and I could relate and associate. But when that iridium landed in Haiti, it forms some of our mountains. Haiti's the land of mountains. Today we have an occupation that's covered by the charitable industrial complex. 1 ton of iridium is worth $45 billion. Should I say that again?
Please do.
And they call Haiti the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. So imagine what I might think watching vibranium being the resource that supposedly the Africans want to hold on to, when I know we have iridium and I know that in the Congo, they have killed 6 million Africans since 1996 for the Congo coltan. Yep. Right? So as a person who deals with the colonizers every day, I was done when the CIA guy came into Wakanda, right? Because that's what I thought. But I just wanted to make those points to talk. But let me just say, in terms of something, to me, I can never see Wakanda because I am a voodooist. I am from the only country that beat the Europeans in combat. I know that this is not what we did when we created this enclave for liberty, when we did what Killmonger wants to do, which is to stop global African oppression. So when I see Killmonger and his anger is moving him forward, and I know we are at war as a people, and I know who we are as a people, I'm not afraid of that anger. I'm not afraid. When he said to burn that down, burn it down, because that's what we did. Because you must, in order to have your freedom, this is what Jean-Jacques Dessalines and the Haitian revolutionaries understood. If you fought for property, you would have lost. So they did not fight for property. They had 6 years where they built the greatest edifices that was out there. Even today, we have the Citadel, which is sort of like the 8th wonder of the world, right? That the Africans in Haiti built. This is not fictional. This is for real. The Africans built the Citadel in Haiti. They were enslaved people. Those same Africans said, this land is a sanctuary for every Black person who's enslaved. If you put your foot on this land, you are free. Now think about that in contrast to Wakanda. They said, this land, if you are white and you are fleeing tyranny, put your feet in this land and we will give you sanctuary. You can't own land, but we will give you sanctuary. That is who we are. I don't know who that was.
Say it.
And I want my folks to understand that's where we come from. That's what we are. We share. When we spend 300 years. Haiti was the first place that they brought in slavery to. And we spent 300 years as enslaved people. But when we were free, we didn't kill the white folks. We made those who fought with us Haitians. And we said, all Haitians shall be known by the appellation Black, including the Polish and the Swiss and those who actually took up arms against the Napoleon forces. That's who we are. Because I trust what we are, I trusted not just the cousin from Oakland, but I trusted that what we are out in the world would have checked him.
Well said. Well said. Wow. Okay. This is just badass. I'm so happy to be able to do this. I don't even know my goodness, this is a necessary conversation. Thank you for that, Èzili. That was a massive history lesson and brought it home. Minister Imhotep El-Kaliban, one of my greatest supporters of the Philippe Matthews show, Rosa Campson. I think she's watching live tonight. I read on her, she posted, she has a group called The All on Facebook. I think I made you a member as well. If not, I'll make all of you members of it. And she posted today, and she said something that was very profound, and it just took my breath away. She says, I was overwhelmed with the magnificence, and magnificence is in all capital letters, of the cinematography displaying all the potential, all capital letters again, of an uninterrupted Africa. An uninterrupted Africa. Professor Kabahia Wathakamene has been on my show more than any other show in his entire life. And almost every show that I have the pleasure of having him on, he uses a term that says, before we were rudely interrupted. Before we were rudely interrupted, we were on our cosmic journey. We were on our cosmic journey. Wakanda represents, and I don't know if Rosa was tuning into that frequency and vibration when she wrote this, but when she says, displaying all the potential of our uninterrupted Africa, I thought of our cosmic journey and where would we be if we were not rudely interrupted by the children of the ice. Minister Imhotep El-Kaliban.
What would you like for me to say? I mean, so many great points have been made by your son and Èzili. I'm going to get this name right.
You got it.
You got it right.
And Sasha, when the Haitian earthquake happened, I always took it to mean they were drilling for oil there. And Haiti hadn't had a earthquake in 200 years. And we know now, okay, when it happened, we didn't know then, but we know now drilling for oil causes earthquakes. There was a movement in Haiti, it was called Lavalas. And their constitution, as it was written by Aristide and others, gave back the mineral rights to the Haitian people, which was taken away by Roosevelt when he was a Secretary of State, and I forgot what president, where he took away. I'm sure. I'm sorry.
Wilson.
It was Wilson. Who is
Wilson.
Yes. Okay. So, and then you mentioned. I mean, so when you say Haiti, it's kind of firing me as well. At Wolsey Community Church, when the Haitians were released in Florida, this is back in the 80s, one of the first places they came to was Wose Community Church of Oakland.
Mm.
And
you know Pierre Laboussière?
And one of them was Pierre Laboussière. I don't know if you know.
Laboussière.
Yes.
Yes, Pierre Laboussière.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So
can you hear me?
So he was, yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm just not so good with pronouncing these French words.
That's okay.
Okay. And you know, when I think of Haiti, I think of people like Boukman, Makandao, Henry Christophe, you know, of course, Toussaint Louverture and others. And, you know, just the fact that they had to pay back France.
I'll talk about that.
For them liberating themselves. You know, just, yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, I heard this, and I don't know if this is an urban legend or not, but I heard that Danny Glover was trying to make a movie on Haiti, but he was told, he said, hey, there's no white heroes in this movie, you know, in the screenplay.
Exactly.
You know,
it's true.
You know, we give you the money, but can you put like, and he had to tell her there are no white heroes in this story.
So we've gone a long way because they did tell him that.
Yeah. So, yeah. I kind of look at the movie because I'm into the whole Marvel world, and you know, because I've been reading those comic books for years. So when I looked at the movie, your cousin from Oakland, which that would be me too, because I'm from Oakland.
Okay, no doubt.
Where I grew up is where the Black Panthers had their rallies. I grew up 2 blocks from Defirmary Park, which they renamed Bobby Hutton Park, was named after a youth who was 16 who was gunned down by the police.
Mm-hmm.
When I see your cousin's role in that, I look at what his father did. His father went against the nation, and that's why his brother had that problem with him, because he came there. He said, "I want to look you in the eye, and you tell me the truth." And you know, just continuing on in the story, the brother from Oakland was not familiar with different things, basic things that Africans know. So he came in, and he, because of anger and because maybe not understanding the full picture and being influenced by the CIA, being a killer for the CIA, he said, "Destroy everything. Let me eat the plant. And I want to destroy it so nobody else can come behind me." And see, the problem that I have with kings and queens in Africa, you know, because we always say this, we come from kings and queens, is that's how we ended up here. You know, kings and queens sent us here. You know, because of commerce. Kings and queens that went against their council.
Wow.
Their council of elders.
Come on.
Because it was more expedient for the European that they wanted to make a deal with. You know, so I realize that this is a fantasy movie, but when I see things like the plant that they were eating, I look at Kemet, because I know that at some point in Kemet they were eating the blue lotus to open up their third eye. You know, and when I look at, there's a medallion that comes out of Tutankhamun's tomb. It's very famous, and the part that has the Kepler dung beetle, that is from that's from a meteorite. You know, it's something that's not from this earth. I mean, you know, that's all over Africa. You know, the Kaaba stone that is in Arabia came from Ethiopia.
Oh.
You know, so I mean, that's not. It's a fantasy, but they're relating to things that are actually you can point to in our history. And you know, I do agree with with you on the Africans sharing, but at one point the Africans didn't let the Europeans in. In Kemet, they kept them out until they got strong enough, and when the Greeks came in. Otherwise, before then, they wouldn't let them study there. They wouldn't. So I mean, part of our tradition is to keep. I mean, that's why we have secret societies. You know,
we had to come to wisdom school. Come on,
there's things now, and I'm sure the people that practice Vodun in Haiti, you could be talking to the Hogan and not know it. You know, there's some things that you just are not. Right. You know, we have a secret, and so they put that in the movie. Yeah, going to the UN, that's bad.
That's never a good idea.
Yeah, it's no question. Maybe we should get a letter writing campaign to say, let's change that part.
Change that scene, please.
Going to the UN is, hey, yeah, I'm from Oakland. I'll contact the brother and say, hey, I was on a panel. I was on the Philippe Jacques Matthews show. It was a erudite panel, and we decided that, you should write the UN out.
Oh, Lord. Oh gosh, I'm sure they're watching right now. As a matter of fact,
you just don't know, Philippe. You do a lot of.
I do want to make one point. If you actually are in contact with the brother,
I'm not.
I just want to make one point. You see, for me, that's one of the reasons why the agency of my cousin from Oakland is so important. There's a famous philosopher in Brazil, Paulo Freire.
Oh, and yeah, the pedagogy of the oppressed.
Pedagogy of the oppressed.
Yes.
And pedagogy of the oppressed, and this is very true in all the revolution that has happened. And it is the oppressed in their own way when they liberate themselves who liberate the oppressor. So you can't tell the oppressed how to go about liberating themselves. You just can't.
Wow.
Yes.
Damn.
Yes. That's in a Bob Marley song. You can't educate us for no equal opportunity.
Okay, and I want to take that one step further for all those talking about how. I just want to take that one step further, because one of the ways that they are destroying Africa right now is through what they call the UN's NGOs, which is the charitable industrial complex. And at the end of the movie, T'Challa's answer is to go give charity. When you take someone's agency away, that's how they conquered the Native Americans in America. That's how you take the person's agency. So I'm going to say it again. Haiti doesn't need charity. We need justice. Give us back our land. Give us back our reparations. Then we'll do it ourselves.
Yes.
You can't change white supremacy within white supremacy. I don't care how much education Wakanda comes to give to Oakland. So it's really important, because what they were selling is this charity. And who is going to decide what that education is that they're going to teach to the Oakland children? I mean, isn't that what Professor Kaba is doing all day long? Right? We have to have our own agency. We have to decide what's of value to us as a people. as a people, you know, we kind of are more communal than we are in this individualistic thing. I heard someone from the LGBT community say, "Oh, I didn't like this movie because they put country before love." I was like, wow.
Mm.
Right. And I'm thinking to myself, I mean, that was like so totally out of my realm, because we are at war and your sexual life doesn't concern me, but the war does. And we have to put the collective before any individual choices.
Mm-hmm.
And so
no question, no question. And that's kind of like what, okay, people on T'Challa's side was saying. You know, they were kind of saying that, you know.
But not 2 billion people. They were saying, well, they were isolationists, right?
Sure.
They were just saying Wakanda.
Sure.
And they were sending their war dogs. For instance, at the beginning of the movie with Lupito, I'm thinking to myself, are they going to help these? It seemed like those were like Boca Raton folks, maybe, that had taken these children.
Yes,
and I was like, are they helping? I wasn't sure if they were helping or if they just like are spying. So I get the impression that all they're doing is spying for the larger Marvel world of these white folks who are doing whatever they're doing against the universe. But do you want to save this universe here? I'm with Killmonger again. Burn it down.
Yeah, you know, I just can't, you know, and again, we're arguing about something that's a fantasy, but but Killmonger did not have the wisdom that he needed. And in my mind, the way I like stories is I ask the question, what if they could have worked together? What if those two first cousins could have worked together?
I know. But didn't Rodney King say that a long time ago?
Why can't we just all get along? You're so wrong, Èzili.
You know,
so wrong for that.
But you know
you ain't no. You know I caught that. You ain't no good. It's all right. That's my girl. That's my queen, Queen Èzili. You're so wrong. So we already know the answer to that, right? Okay.
That's just my thing. I'm looking at what if they could have worked together? Those two brothers, you know, those two cousins, those two Panthers, and that's where we're at.
Well,
you know,
see, this is
Martin Luther King couldn't work with Malcolm. You know, and you can just name them. You know, Du Bois and Garvey, and you know. So,
and that's what that movie reproduced. It focused on black violence.
It did. It did.
And for me, that is not something that's empowering.
You know, that was the problem that I had, because they, you know, he fought very valiantly against his brother, and that's a lot of times that's what we end up doing.
Yeah.
You know, so
but if we're talking fantasy, if we're talking fantasy, you know, I would have preferred a fantasy where at the end of that movie, he used his whatever superpowers to bring back his cousin, because he had learned that his cousin required trauma healing.
You know, that's what I thought was going to happen. That's what I thought was. I thought that was going to happen
because you know, it's not like we are a people of prisons. That is important to us. And for me, you know, if I was his lawyer, he would have gotten off.
Yes, he would have.
I'm still trying to be his lawyer right now.
I'll tell you what. Kugler, if you're watching, you need to consult with Èzili before you make the next damn film installment. All right? I'm telling you right now. She needs to be on a consultant on the film, and we need to save Kill. We got to figure out a way to bring Killmonger back, and so we can save the world of Wakanda. That's what we need to do.
You know, it's a comic book. They can bring him back.
Oh, come on! Really? Come on! We're not. It's a fantasy thing.
That's
you
right.
can do this.
That's
you can
right.
make this happen.
How many dead people have come back in a comic book? You know what I mean?
All right, last go around here. I'm going to bring this to Sasha and to Jason. And And because this is a conversation that's happening about this film in the social ethers, I was watching Lupita and Denai this morning on a YouTube clip. I guess they were on The View, and I was also watching a clip with Chadwick Boseman and Michael B. Jordan. And they were talking about, which I really loved about this film, they were talking about the beauty of the women of all shapes and sizes.
Mm-hmm.
But what was really, really awesome was that you got a chance to see just the most beautiful chocolate women. Oh my God. From Angela Bassett to, it was just, I'm sorry, I'm salivating. Let me wipe myself. I'm on live TV. I'm on live video. I'm so sorry, family. I don't want y'all to see me like this. But they were just good looking all the way around. Even the men look great. You know, I was like, damn, I remember looking like that when I used to dream. And I said to myself, you know, here are these women warriors that were just unbelievable, and in their swordsmanship, in their martial arts. And damn it, there had to have been somebody out there that said, well, one of the problems I have with these women warriors is that they did not speak to the LGBT community.
Okay.
Why weren't there some type of homosexual scene or narration on either side, either the male side or the female side, but particularly the female side? Yeah, well, I'm gonna start with you, my son. I'm gonna start with you. I'm gonna hit you up, Sasha, because I hear the moaning and the groaning and the sighing.
Yeah.
I think he got a little something that he might want to bring to
man. I mean, again,
like
I said earlier, because I think, you know, being a product of the 90s, we run into, you know, more people in a more open space now who are saying, you know, I'm LGBTQ. You know what I'm saying? You hear that from campus to campus, from house to house. You know what I'm saying? I mean, again, I just went and saw a place the other day because I'm, you know, trying to move and things like that or whatever. And I would say 80% of the house, everybody in there was, as they put it, and this is their term, y'all's term, you know, queer. You know what I'm saying? They were queer. That's what they called themselves. And me as a heterosexual male, again, I told him, I was like, you know, I got no problem with whatever you're doing, you know, whatever you do, just don't try and, you know, in my head, I was saying, you know, just don't try and force it down my throat. And I think that's the issue that the argument has of come up with. Well, there was no LGBTQ, there was no homosexual scene in the movie. The problem is that they've been accustomed, as I've said, when I first started speaking, to seeing movies like Moonlight, or having people, women portrayed as lesbians. You know, you can go back to The Wire, or we can talk about one of the like best shows on Netflix with the really funny Indian dude. The woman on there is lesbian, and this and that, so on and so on. So what and I tell people this is a dangerous thing. Because and we're gonna get real deep because we're on the Philippe Matthews show. Here we go.
Just still a place to go. That's right.
Here we go. If we understand as my mommy, Miss Èzeli has said, that we're at war, right? If we understand that we're at war, and one of the key factors in winning the war is, well, I'm going to annihilate you. And if we go back to one of my other famous alumni, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, her great work of genetic annihilation, one of the greatest ways to genetically annihilate a people is by introducing something that they feel is part of their DNA, is part of their normalcy, right? Again, at least to my understanding, and I haven't studied as much as some of the other panel on this show or whatever, but to my understanding, homosexuality is and you know, lesbianism isn't natural, because naturally as human beings we are to produce, and reproduce, whether you believe in religious, whether you don't. And if you cannot reproduce, and majority or the people in your community are fighting for a homosexual way of life, then it's easier to say, well, look, we already killing y'all with the drugs. We're already killing y'all with the diseases. We're already killing you with mass incarceration. And now if we kill you with, and I don't know if a lot of people saw it, but I've been quoted it on my show. Shouts out to Soul Food Wednesdays. Anyway, I've had to do a little self promo there.
Yeah, that's all right.
Just a little bit. But again, if we go back to one of the best series that I saw on Netflix, the Shaka Zulu series, and there was a line in there that stuck with me, and it was very deep because he said a lot of times when he was his war council, his chief, he was talking to Shaka, and he was like, look, when the white man gives you wings, it's not so that he can see you fly, but it's just that he can see you become the enemy. A lot of our brothers and sisters in the LGBT community have gone about and said, gay is the new black, or this is the new black. And the issue that I take up with that is that who gave you this term? Who gave you this identity? Your oppressor, your person who said, look, for the past, let's just say, even though we know we've been over here for longer than that, but let's just say for the past 500 years, we made you chattel, we didn't recognize your humanity, we raped and killed you, and we said, okay, look, now, hey, it's 2000, it's 1990s, 1980s, 1970s, whatever you want to say, and things are different now. We don't have to remember history, we don't have to remember what happened, this and that, so on and so on. And in fact, we're going to empower you if you are part of this group. I've often been quoted to say, and I'll say it here live, it's easier to be a homosexual black man today than it is to be a straight one.
Wow.
Wow.
It's true. I didn't think about that. You are right.
Yeah. It is
true.
In today's society, because again, like I said, bring up the movie Moonlight again. Moonlight has been so accepted in every single community, not just our own, but across the globe. And again, people who've been under a traumatic oppression like ours, one of the biggest things that we search for is the approval. And usually approval of our oppressor. So if our oppressor says that this type of lifestyle is good and okay, and I can get along without being harassed by the police, without being stopped and frisked, without having to worry about if you're going to come into my home and do this or whatever, then I'm going to be that. You know what I'm saying? And again, and I understand that some of our brothers and sisters genuinely choose that. That's what you choose. Cool. Bet. That's on you. And I understand that some of our brothers and sisters have gone through traumatic events that have led them to that, which was wrong, this and that, so on and so on. However, for brothers and sisters like myself, who are very happy being heterosexual, have no issues with it, have no issues with your lifestyle choice, it's the simple matter of the fact that you get tired, in a sense, of having this agenda pushed down your throat and having to feel encased or enclosed when, everybody says, oh, well, you can't talk about the homosexual community, or, oh, you can't say that, this and that, so on and so on. And my thing is this, is for the melanated LGBTQ community, are you still not black? You know what I'm saying? Again, see, a lot of you forget that you can hide your LGBTQ-ness if needs be. You know what I'm saying? Again, we've made this debate before, and I'm not the first one to make it. But my thing is this: nobody's going to be able to check your skin and be like, oh, well, that's a gay person right there. You know what I'm saying? This and that. So you can't do that. It just doesn't work. And my thing is this: this is why I say no. Gay isn't the new black, because you were never whipped. At least, again, you were never beat. And I understand there have been cases and extreme cases of hatred towards the LGBT community, but it's nothing compared to what our people went through. It's nothing compared to having, as we talked about earlier, Baba, your history taken away and your culture taken away. and your religion taken away, and every sense of thing that made you a human taken away. So when they get upset about, well, every movie has to include, you know what I'm saying? Again, I'm like, it's almost like every movie nowadays, every TV show has to include the LGBT community. I'm like, we're just now, as of Black Panther today, having a movie that has a predominantly melanated cast. You know what I'm saying? Again, everybody does not need to be included in the movie. And if you are not included in the movie, it does not mean that the movie is not for you, or that you aren't considered important, or that you're not considered equal. You know what I'm saying? This and that, so on and so on. It's just the movie didn't need that part. It didn't need that scene. You know what I'm saying? Again, it stood alone without it. And I know personally of LGBTQ brothers and sisters, melanated and non-melanated alike, that still went and saw this movie and enjoyed it, whether it had a scene or not. See, the problem is, in this country, in America, we believe in political correctness. Everything has to be political correct. Everybody has to, on the surface, appear that, oh, we care and we're so important and we love each other so much. The ticket sales didn't care what your sexual orientation was. You know what I'm saying? The directors didn't care. I mean Ryan Coogler didn't care. Chadwick Boseman, Michael B. Jordan, Lupita Nyong'o, Winston Duke, Okoye, because I can't pronounce her name. The lady from The Walking Dead. You know what I mean? But Angela Bassett, Forrest Whitaker. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't an intentional. I didn't care. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of people get in their feelings. As we say in my age bracket, you know what I'm saying? You feeling some type of way, right? And the problem is you don't have no reason to be feeling some type of way. This is again, as
it's a part of it is an identity crisis. But to speak on something that you said earlier that I don't want to let slip, and that is when I forgot what show I did. I just did a show with Professor Kaba and Dr. David Imhotep. And I was, I think around the end of the show, I was talking about what's getting ready to happen in 2045, 2050, when America turns brown. And people are really getting up in arms, and you're getting ready to see, white supremacists of all ages really show their ass, because they're becoming a minority in this country. And the question no one is asking is how and why is that happening? And so one of it is the science called replacement fertility. And I'm talking about this a lot because I want the family to really understand what's going on. And I'm getting ready to tie this in and tag it to what you were talking about earlier. Replacement fertility basically means that if you don't have enough children, you can't sustain your existence on this planet. And the Eurasian has always been a minority. They've never been a majority. When they came out of the caves, they were a minority. As a result, so that was the second mutation. The first mutation was the glaciation, being stuck in the worm ice age glaciation for 11, 12,000 years. That was the first mutation. The second mutation was they inbred as opposed to going back into the dominant gene pool. So in a sense, as a result of that, their days and numbers were tagged from that moment. And what's happening is around the world, Italy is getting ready to become unrecognizable because they have not replaced their children. And as a result, they have to bring in a labor force from other countries. And those countries are Muslim countries. And Muslims bring their culture with them. And as a result, Italy is going to, certain aspects of Italy is going to completely vanish. But the European is dying off. And a lot of people, this is the difference between the 1% and the 99%. The 1% knows this. That's why they created eugenics. That's why they create things for population control. That's why they created the false narrative of race and the false anthropology of race. The 99% is fighting about race and color. The 1% is fighting for their right to be on this planet. They're fighting against their extinction. So what happens when the reason that the European men first, if you will, within their group, oppressed women. And they didn't want women to vote. They didn't want women to have economic power. They only wanted women to do one thing, and that was to breed and to raise children. When white women are not breeding and raising children, they start to die off, and that number starts to accelerate. It's called replacement fertility. And that rate has now reached a critical mass. Well, what's one of the things that if you want to extinct a race, what are the things that you don't do? Well, you don't do same-sex relationships because you're not breeding. White women are now making the choice to go to become economically viable. They're stopping. They're waiting late to have children. They're only having maybe one, maybe two. The number right now is for every one of them that dies, 6 are not born. So they're past the timeline of that extinction protocol. And then, of course, the extinction protocol of the genetic annihilation that Dr. Welsing talked about in terms of black seed creates black babies. And so that's another way to extinct the population. This is something the 1% recognizes. But white women are also choosing to intermarry and to date what Dr. Welsing says, tall, dark, and handsome. So they're dating outside of their ethnic group. But they're also choosing homosexuality as a lifestyle. Well, all of those factors does what? It stops children being born. It stops their economic power base to be born into and to continue the colonization. Well, let's take that to the black community, particularly the African American. Part of this population control, because they already know this, they see this. So they're saying, well, let's hedge our bets. If we can get rid of them before we are gotten rid of, if we can control their population, minimize their population, dilute their population, poison their population from the NGOs, from the GMOs, from Flint, Michigan water, from whatever it takes to control the numbers. And if we can keep this agenda and propaganda that it's okay to have same-sex relationships and make homosexuality the new black, guess what? They won't breed. They won't vote us out of office. They won't come into power. That's the 1% agenda. The 99%, because they are uneducated, is still fighting the race game. It ain't about race or color. This is about population control and extinction protocols. And so that was one of the things that when I saw this piece on them saying there was no gay LGBTQ representation, I was saying, well, I don't know if that was intentional or not intentional, but I had to speak on that aspect of it. And so I'm going to bring Sasha in on this and give us your opinion as a black woman and a black millennial. What are you experiencing in this new propaganda campaign?
I think that whenever I hear people talk about this particular topic, I think that we're missing the point of when they're talking about the gay agenda. And I think that we're completely missing what the actual point of that story is. I don't think it has anything to do with same-sex relationships. I don't think it has anything to do with the choices and some natural, some situation choices that people make. I think it's the fact that white men are afraid of black men completely. I think that the biggest fear for white men is a strong, powerful black man with a black wife and black children. And the best way to not be afraid of black men is to put them in blouses and dresses and the hairstyle. Like, I think that the issue is if that is who you are, then that is who you are. But for them to put it and for them to there's certain entertainers and musicians that say that they're not gay and they have girlfriends, but they wear dresses and they wear certain things, they do certain things. They're making it seem like that's how black men are. And I think that our community is misunderstanding that to have it, and it has nothing in my honest It might be a millennial opinion. I think that we're missing the point of what white men are trying to do to Black men, primarily. It trickles down to Black women, but I really don't think that white men care about Black women. I think that Black women are the most unappreciated people in the world, because if the dominance in power goes from white men, it goes all the way down to Black women, and Black women are not taken seriously. So it's part of it, but I think the main agenda is to turn Black men into something that they can look at and not be scared of anymore.
Wow.
So I think that in us looking at it that way, it's not about who you go to bed with at night, because there are Black people that are part of the movement and that are dedicated and could care less, about putting any agenda forward. They just know the purpose that they have, and they know who they want to be and what they want to be, and their sexuality has nothing to do with their brain. Some people, there is an agenda. Some people do it, but stupid people are stupid people. I think that the main agenda in this country, it even goes back to the way the guns were created, what they look like, what they do. White men have a sincere fear of Black men. White men have a sincere fear of Black men. They don't have the same fear of Black women. They have an admiration. And I watched Queen Sugar, and there's a scene in there where it was like this white guy was like, he was just salivating at the Black woman who was able to be the only Black mill owner in the entire area. I don't know how far it stretched, but she was in their area. And his desire for her was disturbing to the point where it was almost hard to watch. But the primary issue, I feel, and it separates, because there are people that are part of the LGBT community that don't want to be part of the woke community just because of how woke people feel or woke conscious people feel, and they won't contribute what they can contribute because they're uncomfortable, because they're going to be judged. So I don't think it's fair to judge somebody based on their sexuality, because nobody knows the heart of that person. It is unfair to judge a person based on who they have relations with and who they are. It is better to look at the intention of the person. And if the intention of the person, just because you have a Black face, doesn't mean that you have a Black heart and a Black soul. Just because you look a certain way doesn't mean that you're part of the Black community. You can be Black and not be a part of the Black community. So your intention and your dedication should be what's more important. And for me, when I think of what people call the gay agenda, because I've heard that a significant amount of times, it's more important to look at what it actually is. And for all these people that you feel like are part of the problem, most of them don't consider themselves to be gay, but they're men in dresses. And if that's who you are, that's who you are. But it should not be forced on people to make it seem like that is the new fashion. And I'm probably saying it incorrectly or maybe insensitively, but my point is that a lot of these people are being dressed by white people, and it's not who they naturally are, but it's who they're making them out to be, so that they're not as scary to white men, because that is everything that they do. Even the way that they chose their slaves was based on their fear and their admiration of melanated Black men. And when we're talking about the war that we're in, we cannot eliminate people that would be important soldiers on the front line of the war because you don't like who they go to bed with at night. It should be their intention and not who they're sleeping with, because there are people that are part of it for the right reason. But the agenda is 100% fear of white men, and that's just the way that it is. It is 100% their fear, and they're trying to turn Black men into women. And if you are a Black man and you feel like that's who you are, that's your business. But it should not be something that is perpetrated as the solution to the fear of white men. That should not be the reason why you're doing what you're doing. We have to stop listening to them when they tell us it's a good idea. It's probably there's a reason that they tell us it's a good idea, and it's probably not. So I think within the movie, we have no idea if there was a gay scene in the movie, because there could have been, and we didn't recognize it because that's not what was important about the movie. It might have been in there, and we just didn't notice it. We could watch it again and be like, wow, that actually, wait a second, that might have been, it could have been anything in the movie, but that was not the purpose, because that should not be our purpose. Our purpose should be taking all of our best soldiers and fighting the war as hard as we can and winning the battle and the war. It shouldn't have anything to do. So when I think of that, and when I think of in the movie, it shouldn't have been a main part in the movie, because who you marry, who you go to bed with is not what's gonna progress the Black community. If that's what, if your intention is to further the agenda of the gay community within the Black community, you don't need to be part of it, because being gay in the Black community is not going to better the Black community. Being who you, and like you said about you can hide it. You can't hide being Black. It's not something that you can. It's not something that you can like wake up one day and say, oh, I really don't want to be, Black today. I want to be something else. So when it comes to your participation, you can be who you are and be proud of who you are, but taking away from the struggle that Black people have had is unfair. But it's also unfair to eliminate certain groups of people just because you don't understand it and because you may not agree with it. Your value to the community is what's most important, and your agenda to bettering the community, because the agenda is the fear of white people. The agenda is not within us, and we have all of us have the ability or some desire to separate ourselves from somebody else. So a lot of people in the gay community don't want to be part of the Black community because they feel like they're making progressive steps that the Black community that is not part of the gay community, and it's still a form of divide and conquer, because like you said, Philippe, if you can separate, I think you said it, if you can separate the gay community, the gay Black community from the rest of the community, then you've taken away valuable players in their team. And the game of chess, they're going to get checkmate much faster than us if we allow them to separate people. If we allow them to separate people that will be valuable in the struggle. And that's unfair generally. And I'm probably speaking as a millennial, but there are people that are valuable, and the value that you bring should be what's most important. So when it comes to the scenes in the movies, that shouldn't even have been a question, because what that's doing is separating us even more, because that's taking away from the movie, because it's making it seem like we were lacking in the movie. It's making it seem like, oh, maybe next time we'll add this, maybe next time we should do it better, and that's causing a rift in the community. It didn't need to be a part of the movie, because that all that's doing is making it seem like we didn't do our job in making, not us, but they didn't do their job in making the movie. Like something is missing. We always like, damn, we weren't good enough. We didn't accomplish what we set out to accomplish. Every single Black person that took value from it, whether you're gay, straight, transgender, bisexual, whatever you are, if you can bring the best of yourself to the struggle, that's all that should matter. And we don't and I understand the question, but we are making it seem like we were lacking in the movie and we are lacking in the struggle. Every time we say what was missing, it's sad that questions that they create and that they separate us. And like you said, with them separating us, they make it seem like gay Black men, like what you had mentioned about gay Black men having it easier, because you can't talk bad about a gay Black man, because Black Twitter, the whole Instagram, you will be the enemy of the state if you talk, because you're automatically, once you say something, even I'm gonna give it, this was a horrible thing that happened, and it was when Genuine the musician, I don't know if anybody saw it or heard about it. When Genuine did an interview with someone who was transgender, and this person tried to kiss him, and he pulled away, and the next day they made it seem like he was transphobic, and that was so disrespectful to him. Because if he would have done that to a woman, he would have been labeled with Harvey Weinstein and everybody else, and that was sexual harassment. But it was made to seem like he was the homophobic, transphobic, because he did not allow this person, and it's just adding the wrong conversation. Because nobody.
Okay, so what we need to do then is we need to tell Ryan, we need 2 consultants. You're gonna have Èzili and Sasha on the next film to consult with you, Ryan, so that you're gonna get the next series right. Because I know Bozeman got a 5-picture deal for the Panther.
There you go.
So we got your back chat right here on this show. We got you. Whatever you need, my brother, we're gonna get you straight so that the next 5 films are gonna be absolutely perfect. And so with that, I'm gonna end this with Èzili, and also I am going to throw out my pumps because I just bought a pair of pumps for the weekend and my dress. So I can't wear that now. So I'm just gonna let that go. I had to do it. Because this is called segue. I'm setting it up for Èzili because Èzili talks about colonial celebrities, and we know who these colonial celebrities are, and we know who we're talking about. We ain't gonna mention no names because, you know, I don't want to end up. I don't even know if you can probably kick me off of YouTube, but I know there's some powers that say, "Oh, he ain't gonna have a YouTube channel after this damn show." So Èzili, talk to me about colonial celebrities and this agenda. This propaganda agenda that we are dealing with the bourgeoisie and the successfully colonized celebrities, and then we'll end it with that.
Well, I think that Jason and Sasha and brother from Oakland have made some wonderful points, and I think I want to say really importantly that everyone should go see the movie. In terms of the rituals, I saw the African rituals that were familiar to me, and I'm you know, a woman who's been practicing being part of Haiti and its space for a long time. So I saw that. I saw Ambadlo, which is the primordial space where everything began for us as voodooist. So that waterfall, being under the water. All of that I saw.
Yes.
And it was very beautiful, and they did a wonderful job, and I congratulate them. I congratulate them for making young boys and young girls feel that they can be anything they want, and that I congratulate them from showing that Africa is not all about all of this misery, and that's critically important. As you know, we deal with that all the time in Haiti. But I also think it's really for us important to understand that this is a Disney presentation, and that we are living within a system of white supremacy, that the deep state overlooks every single script of that kind of budget.
Yes.
And I don't know what the original script could have been, but based on the work already that I've seen of the young brother, Ryan Coogler, I trust his instincts, and he probably had to fight for what we just saw.
Yes, he did. I think we can all agree on that. Yes, he did.
No doubt.
And I'm going to stand and give him my support 100%.
Yes.
Because I think that the person that became my hero in that movie was probably supposed to be Killmonger, and he humanized the brother to the point where I recognized that brother because I know who that brother is. So, and I think that took some maneuver and finessing. That took being intelligent enough to understand that this movie was going to go to a dominant society, and you wanted not to hit their psyche in such a way that they would not put their money out. We have a movie, I think it's hit all the records. The 4 days, like 218 million globally.
Actually, I heard 387 million.
Yeah,
that's global. That's globally, but in the United States,
domestically, yeah. So, and on Thursday night, it's the largest Thursday night opening in history.
Okay, and so that's going to help so many other Black directors. Sure. So he's broken that, and that needs to be elevated. The fact that young children can go, and I heard, I read an article where it was children that had gone and listening to what they were saying, how they loved the costume, you know, the Shuri and so on. So there's a lot of, it's really important that we support those actors and the director, and the fact that they gave us this opportunity to actually debate. I mean, I don't deal with, you know, the Hollyweird at all. But here, this was something that I know my brothers was going to go to. He was going to bring my niece to, and I wanted to see what this whole hype was about. And I think we've talked about that. But what we also have to understand is that they use our heroes to present to us certain of their messages. And I deal in Haiti, in Africa, with the use, because, you know, that's how we got Trump, right? If you put someone in your living room, you become used to that person in your living room. And if that person delivers a particular message, you tend to perhaps take it in a little bit better. So as I look at all of this, like I said, all of those actors have made good choices. I don't know any one of them that are, I mean, there are actors I wouldn't have gone to see if this thing, I don't want to say certain names, but if this thing was kind of the fetch it and, you know, type of director, but he's not that kind of director, right? He did Fruitvale Station, you know, Oscar Grant. That was his first one. So this brother needs to be supported, but let's understand that he's dealing with Disney. Let's understand that Disney in the last 50 years has been a very big propaganda arm of the deep state. So for me, as soon as I saw the CIA guy go into Wakanda, that's what Marvel Comics is about. You see, because these guys are the heroes of the world, right? They're working for the military-industrial complex. So we just have to be wary of all that. But I deal with naming the Hollywood celebrities that are used to bring about agenda of colonialism. But in this show, really, I don't have any evidence of any of them doing that. I've looked at some of their work, from Bosman to all of them are great actors. But we just have to understand that we live in a world where celebrityism is used to push particular messages. And they, of course, you know, that's what they use the hip hop artists for, right? To destroy Black music and bring us the criminalization and glorifying of it. And this is, to me, a new step. And I hope that it continues and more of kind of Black African culture is put someplace where it could appeal to, you know, Sasha and Jason. Because I trust that generation is going to lift us up, bring us someplace else.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Èzili Danto. All right, family, you know what to do. If you ain't already doing it, you're going to comment, you're going to share. This is a record number of people that are watching live tonight on this show around the country and around the world. We appreciate you for that. Stick around with me, family, in the green room as we sign off. But I just want to personally thank Minister Imhotep Al-Kalaban, Èzili Danto, my son Jason T. Moore, and Sasha Madeline. You guys absolutely rock. Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever.
Hotep, fam.